All right, you guys ready? Any other questions?
What's a question?
It's a thing where you don't know stuff and then you say words and then you know stuff.
What's a word?
It is a construction of sounds that mean things.
What's a construction?
It's another show made by Jim Henson about talking construction vehicles.
Wait, did they make their own? Wait, they did. They did do like a spin-off of Fraggle Rock,
Yeah.
didn't they? I didn't watch it because it was entirely CGI, and it's like, why the fuck are you making?
Oh no, this is something. This is totally different. They made a show called Construction Site. It was like Bob the Builder, but not stop motion. It was like remote controlled like diggers.
All right,
and
you
stuff.
see, William, you think I'm a bigger Jim Henson fan? This dude knows something I didn't, so there you go.
I've never seen the show.
I know, but you know it, which means you know more than me technically.
What if Bob the Builder had a gun?
All right. All right.
He would.
All right, that's our cue to start. I need to start. Okay.
Okay, are we all
Yeah,
recording?
I've been recording, so.
Yeah, he has the
Okay,
audio
good,
of me
good.
saying, "What if Bob the Builder had a gun?"
No, you
That
have.
won't be
Very good.
You have the audio of that, right? You started recording?
Yeah,
All right, great. Anyway,
but then I'm gonna give you the audio, so then you'll have it.
and then I'll have it. Okay.
Okay. I'm not going to give you my audio. You have to guess it, and then I'll say all the lines again.
Okay,
yourself.
sounds good. Okay. Hello and welcome to Too Many Movies, the podcast where we discuss DVDs, Blu-rays, and even the occasional VHS tape. I'm your host, Hal, and today I got William back here. William, say something funny.
What if Jareth had a gun?
Very, very funny. Hey, I also got another person with me. John, introduce yourself.
Hi, what if Jen had a personality?
Ooh, that's a good Fuck, I didn't...
What if Jen's personality was that he was really into guns?
That would be something. wouldn't
Right-wing conspiracy, Jen. Taking this
no.
crystal to Skex's castle.
it? Yes.
I would
right.
like to not dedicate this crystal to my reformed rabbi, Bill Clinton.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. Hi. I'm a person. I'm not that
Yeah.
weird, but I'm quite weird.
Yeah, so I invited these two on today's episode because I got two very special movies I wanted to talk about today, and I figured these two would be the best candidates for talking about said movies. Let's talk about the first one. The Dark Crystal. I'm sure you've heard of it. If you haven't, I kind of like it, sort of, kind of. It's fine. It's a fine movie.
What are you talking? You're like its biggest fan. You love this movie. Don't kid yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so, all right, I want to ask William. William, what was your thoughts on The Dark Crystal when you first watched it? Because I don't think this was your first time watching it, was it?
It wasn't my first time, but I don't really remember how I felt the first time I saw it because it was a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I can't really tell you much.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, it's been a couple years. All right, what were your initial thoughts when you finished it this time around?
I think overall it's good. I think the story is kind of generic fantasy a little. That's not a bad thing. It's just I've seen this kind of thing before. It's the standard outline. But the real reason you're watching this is for the puppetry, which is incredible.
Right, yeah.
And it is a cool world. I don't know which world I like more in terms of the actual concept, this or Labyrinth's world. We'll get to that more later. But in terms of the sheer craft of making the movie, it's great.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I mean, that's what grabbed me the first time I saw this trailer when I was 8 years old, maybe even younger, maybe later. I don't even remember. I just remember for the first time watching a trailer for The Dark Crystal on my Muppets from Space DVD. Ooh. And just being blown away by holy shit, movies can look like that. And it never left my mind ever since. So, John, what were your initial thoughts after watching The Dark Crystal this time around?
This time around, well, I connected with it a lot better because you and I watched it a number of years ago, and to be honest, I really didn't remember anything about it. This time, I mean, we saw it in the theater, which was fantastic. I think movies, they always look better in the theater. They always move better. I really liked it. Contrary to what I said in the beginning about Jen, I have problems with this movie, but I also really like it. I think it's a wonderful creative thing. It's it's the deepest look into Jim Henson's ultimate level of creativity, in my opinion. Like when he tries to do something serious that's not the Muppets.
Yeah, I definitely see that too. Because, like, I mean, like I said, I have been thinking about this movie, like, for close to my entire life at this point, just because of the way it looks, just the way it leaps off the screen at certain points. And, like, the way that I can't even comprehend what I'm looking at half the time. In a good way. Like, it's so alien and distant to me that it's impossible to even imagine, like, any of these locations, any of these creatures, like, being from Earth. Like, it's a totally extraterrestrial movie in that regard.
Yeah.
And yet it all still feels believable because it's all actually in front of the camera.
Exactly. That's another thing.
That is true. That's very true. I love, like, you know, I'm sure they did the castle as like a little model off in the distance, and it just, you know, it's really there, and a lot of it looks pretty incredible. The thing that leaps out to me, and this might sound a little weird, but the Gelfling's hair looks so realistic. Jen's hair, it just looks like someone's real hair. It's very incredible how they managed to pull that off.
They actually shaved off Jim Henson's children, and they were bald the entire filming because they just used their hair.
Okay, why didn't they just cast the children then?
That was not true. That was a fact I made up on the spot.
I couldn't tell if you were lying or not.
It's a lie.
Oh,
I've been lying. It was a fool's fool. In any case,
I think it's also really cool when they do the like the full costume puppets. You know, like the mystics and those big, I forget what they're called, but the big beetle things that run around capturing people.
Gartham.
Gartham, that's right. Yeah, I thought they were especially impressive with how they moved and stuff.
They look really heavy, and you can definitely tell, like, that you can see because we saw this on the big screen, like, I remember definitely noticing you could see the puppeteer's legs in those costumes, but, like, they covered them up with, like, the little frilly, little looking octopus legs that they put, like, on the bottom. You can still see them, but, like, you can definitely see they put some thought into the costuming to just be like, okay, we got to cover this up. Let's add more detail to this creature, you know?
For sure.
I would like to quickly chime in. The version of the movie that I own is the Sony Digibook, so it has like a booklet in front of it that it has a lot of like behind the scenes detail. Do you want to hear the write up for the Gartham?
Please do.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
Armored warriors of destruction. Their bodies have no hearts or other organs and require neither food nor drink. Their only nourishment is the pleasure they derive from destruction. They have served the forces of evil since the Skeksis separate from the Mystics. Realized from Froud, sketches by sculptor and designer Fred Nita, I think that's how it's pronounced. The Gartham were described as evolutionary robots. Physically, the Gartham were composed of 590 interlocking parts, mostly styrofoam and fiberglass, which nonetheless weighed in at 70 pounds. Much of the weight was in their long, lethal tails, which tended to slow down even the most agile acrobat. The tail unit was redesigned so that it no longer dragged on the ground, and the Gartham became dexterous as they were deadly. And then there's also like some little blueprints, I think.
Yeah.
So they basically had to run around with an oversized like fireman's costume with a bunch of spindly legs hanging.
Exactly.
Basically,
they got crab
Quasimodo.
claws. Yeah, Quasimodo. It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah, the puppetry is all amazing. Now, shall we talk about the story?
So yeah, you guys have been saying that, like, it's a little generic. I agree. I think it is a bit of a generic fantasy story. I also think, so I remember when I first watched it, I was not a fan of the fact that, the wisest mystic is like dumping all this exposition on Jen. He's just like, oh yeah, by the way, you got to save the world because it's ending in like 3 days. 3 days! And like, it's just such a weird thing to bring up now. And he's just like, I should have told you these things long ago. But I will say, upon watching it for like, I don't know, the 10th time now, I actually kind of like that. I like how Jen is given this ultimatum a couple days before, and it just kind of throws him into this world-ending adventure, and he has no idea what he's doing. I kind of like that. I kind of like how it kind of ups the stakes. It kind of makes the main character more frustrated. Like in any other movie, I feel like, yeah, it would be frustrating to just throw a character into this situation with no warnings beforehand. But I mean, a lot of people experience that in every day. Like sometimes just big, important jobs need to happen at the last minute.
Yeah. And like the way I took it was also kind of just like all that happened was also kind of sudden because it was just like, oh, both the Mystic and the Emperor Skeksis are dying at the same time. So I kind of just took it as like a very sudden thing that they didn't really get a choice in.
Exactly. Yeah, they're just like, all right, this is happening way too soon. I also like the idea that these Skeksis and the Mystics are connected. So, you know, we see the Skeksis as like the ultimate evil, and in the opposite side, we're supposed to see the Mystics as like the ultimate good. The Mystics do jack shit throughout the whole movie. If you actually realize, like,
that's not true. They go
they just walk
once.
They are useless.
They go and they go on a lovely stroll.
And I like that because it's like, okay, it's just like this idea that, okay, you're looking up to these people like on either side. It's like you got the evil people, you got the good people. At the end of the day, they're all connected. Like it's up to you, a normal person, to fix this.
I was just gonna say, so about, having Jen get all this crazy information dumped on him really quick, and like, you have to go and save the world. I'm sorry, I should have told you this. That adds a lot of good dramatic drive to it. I think one of the things that this film, and pretty much any film that has to establish an entire world, struggles with is getting you into it in the beginning and giving you all the information you need. And I feel like this is kind of one of those movies where like the beginning, it throws so much at you that you almost don't have enough time to get acquainted with like the characters in the world before it's like it has to go.
Yes.
You know? And as a consequence, at the end, it's a very kind of sudden ending. We don't get any time to really see like what the world is like after, because this world is so insane and there's so much to do that takes up the whole movie. And personally, I've always struggled a little bit getting into movies like that, but it's an understandable feature of something like this.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that is one of the things that had to come with this movie. Like, you always hear about the not straight up disaster the production of this was, but like, the first test screenings were were kind of a disaster because nobody understood what the fuck was going on. Like, the Skeksis originally did not speak English. They spoke like Egyptian or some shit. And, kids were watching this like, what is going on? It's like, when you say that, like, this is Henson's, like, deepest form of creativity, and, like he really was stretching, really stretching, like, what would be acceptable for, like, young audiences at the time. He's just, like, he's just doing whatever the fuck he wants, and everyone's just like, let's rein it back just a bit. You
made the Muppets, we'll let you do the movie, but, you got to give a little.
Yeah, exactly. Like, just because you... Because, think about it. Like, this is the first dark thing that he's made after the Muppets. Like, as he's making the Muppet movies and the Muppet Show, and then he comes along with this. It's like, it's total whiplash.
And I think it's a great tone to have. I think it's like, because it was his first time getting anything like this out, it's like he's trying to fit so much into it. It's such a deep world to explore. I feel like maybe the movie could have been a little longer.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I'm glad that it's only an hour and a half because, movies are ever so rarely an hour and a half anymore. Like, they have to be 2-hour epics, but it never feels like they can be 2 hours. Like, they feel like they have to be 2 hours because, well, other movies are 2 hours. It's like, no, a movie can just be an hour and a half and establish so much. So, but I do think that, yes, because this movie introduces a brand new world, brand new lore, brand new universe of rules and fantasy elements, it's like, yeah, you kind of need to, I don't know, maybe add a little bit more of that runtime to maybe catch us up a little bit.
And,
so
I
I
mean,
totally get that.
For me,
The
it's
movie
more
is
my
10
personal
minutes
taste.
shorter than Labyrinth.
Yeah. Oh,
Is
yeah. It is shorter than Labyrinth. Yeah, I remember that. Because
Really?
I remember I was watching Labyrinth and I'm just like, I'm looking at
Labyrinth
my
feels
watch.
Shorter.
Does it? Oh, well, that's interesting.
To me, it felt shorter.
Yeah, no, it's like Labyrinth is like an hour and 40, I think. I can't remember the exact amount of time it is, but it's somewhere around there. But yeah, I feel like, I don't know. I mean, and maybe this is because, again, this is like my 10th time seeing this movie. Like, I'm not that startled by the pacing or anything like that. Like, I kind of get what's going on. Again, because I've seen it 10 times. I've seen the Netflix series twice. So, like, I kind of have an understanding of what the hell is happening.
It's not incomprehensible. I just all of this is just my personal preference to have a little bit more time to get to know the characters. But
Absolutely.
Even without that, getting on the journey's great. I personally, I just wish we had a little bit more time with the characters.
Yeah, especially someone as awesome as Chamberlain and his.
Oh, I could have done with a whole lot less of that guy.
Really?
Oh man,
Chamberlain's the best. He's like
I wish he started talking English sooner in the movie because I thought the whole time he was just going to be going.
I know, yeah, no. So that's what's really funny about that character. I feel like a lot of people when they say they're thinking like all the Skeksis do that, but it's just Chamberlain who does that. And
thank God.
It probably would have gotten grading if every Skeksis did it, but I'm glad that it's just him. Cause
Emperor, what is your first request? Murder!
Murder.
They would impeach that guy so fast.
Get back, spithead. I love that line. That's one of my favorite lines. You know, he's just like spithead. Like, what kind of an insult is that?
That's called Jim Henson had to rewrite the script real quick because he made it too intense.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Herm face.
Yeah, it's like so Chamberlain, what do you think of all of us? Well, and then just a freight train goes by. Chamberlain, what was that? I couldn't quite hear you. Oh, whoops, we have to move on with the story.
He summoned the cleaner.
He summoned the cleaner. Let's talk about Kira. What are you guys' thoughts of Kira?
I like Kira.
She was the other Gelfling, right?
She was the other Gelfling. Yeah. She was the one who wrote all the names in the Death Note. I'm kidding. That's a joke.
Yeah, she had wings and could do the big floaty.
She had wings and did the big floaty. Yeah. So, I mean, I like Kira. I think I like the way that she's written. I like how she's introduced in the story. I think she plays her part real well. How she's like, she's lived with the podlings all her life. She's lived in the forest her entire life. So like, that's the way that she shows off her skills. Like, she's willing to do the right thing, not because she was prophesized to do it, but because she genuinely wants to help. I think that's a really good character trait, honestly.
She's just lovely.
Yeah.
That's why she does it. Yeah.
Yeah, she's a lovely, lovely character. One of my favorite scenes with her is
and I feel like
Oh, go ahead, John.
I was gonna say, I feel like we get a much better sense of who she is really quickly.
Yes, you know, definitely. Just from like how she can speak with the animals
because
and stuff like that.
Because, like with her family and stuff.
Yeah, and the dream fasting. But I mean, the dream fasting is a little weird, which is why I find it funny that the Netflix series brought it in, because they're just like, well, it was in the movie. We kind of have to include it because it's like, you know, it's just like we kind of have to include this stupid power. So I guess we'll write it into the series.
It's interesting.
But yeah, it is an interesting scene.
It's like, I wish we saw that stuff in the movie and not in the dream.
Yeah, exactly. But, I mean, it is what it is. But I was also going to say, one of my favorite scenes with her is when she and Jen are on the river and she's just like throat singing and he starts playing his flute. It's a very nice scene. Like, you probably could cut it out of the movie and nothing would change. But, like, I just like that. I like watching these characters interact in this world, and you just hear these sound effects. You hear, like, the fucking ambience of, like, the forest and the swamp area. It's nice, and you just, like, this very nice-sounding music as well.
It's better than the swamp in the other movie.
It's better than the swamp in the other movie, 100%. Yes.
Actually, I think you'll find it was a bog.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. So I wanted to say, do you guys have anything else you wanted to say about this movie before we move on to like the talking about the Blu-rays that I have of it?
Like in general, what this movie feels, when I say like it feels standard, what I mean is that like you have like your standard fantasy feeling like, oh, you have to go do this quest. So
Sure.
the whole movie is kind of just like a road trip in a way, so, like trying to advance to their big end goal and just seeing what wacky shenanigans you get into.
Yeah, it's a typical fantasy trope of like you going on an adventure. I mean, like it's Lord of the Rings essentially. Yeah, it's a huge. Like, Lord of the Rings is a huge version of that, where
like,
because it spanned 3 movies.
One scene in particular that reminds me of Lord of the Rings is like when they're in like the bar scene and then the Gartham show up to crash the party. That's like it was like the banshee that like walked in on the bar in the first Lord of the Rings, right?
Yeah, exactly. How you're just totally. It's like you're sitting down to like after your long travels, but like then the villain shows up and you gotta like continue your travels even though you want to rest. It's like. Sorry. Fellowship calls.
Nope, I'm the big bad Beetleborg, and I'm going to take your life unless you run away, sonny.
Yeah, I'm going to destroy this Ewok village before the Ewoks were even a thing.
What was the name of, like, the lady in, like, the observatory place or whatever?
Agra.
Yeah, she got a dumpy.
Yeah, she does, unfortunately.
Okay, my turn.
Yeah. Yeah, you go ahead, John.
So I have to say, Jen is kind of weak at the beginning of the movie. He gives me a lot of kind of whiny Luke Skywalker vibes, like power converters. You know, it's like when he's first on the journey, he's like, "Why am I even doing this? What is this? Where am I going?" Like his dialogue all feels like really on the nose, and like he's just whining about the whole thing. He doesn't know what's going on, and it's just it's hard to describe. I just thought he was very weak at the start of the movie.
Yeah,
I think as it goes on, especially once he teams up with Kira and there's the contrast between them, I think it's much better. But maybe he's just. I think he's also just kind of a quiet guy. But like at the beginning, man, I don't know. I think he's kind of weak when he starts.
It does definitely. Yeah, no, and it definitely does show like kind of like the flaws with the script writing. How they're just like, what do we do with this character? Like he's the main guy, but like you got to do more than just be like, oh, he's the main character. Like you got to give him like more of a personality. Which is why I like that scene later on when he and Kira stumble upon those ruins, and you know after he's met Kira, like she's really proven to herself as like, you know, she's very feisty. She knows her way around the forest. She knows her way with the podlings. She knows how to talk to certain animals. And like here they come across the ruins and she's like, what is this? And then Jen gets to show off his skills because he was raised by mystics. Yes. He was raised by scholars his whole life. So now he gets to show like his book smarts essentially.
I think part of it is just that, like, it's the standard trope of the audience surrogate character. Like, he doesn't have much personality at start because he's there to be you.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of fantasy main characters are like that. But, you know, you get actual good ones like Frodo, like Luke Skywalker. And to be honest, Jen is much better than, say, Sarah in Labyrinth and what's his face from The Black Cauldron. Have you guys ever seen The Black Cauldron?
No.
Yeah, the main character sucks in that movie.
Let me put it to you this way for Black Cauldron. It actually did get a Blu-ray release recently, but only for the Disney Movie Club.
It's typical Disney. They fucking hate that movie. It's so funny how much they hate that movie.
I mean, it was their lowest point.
Yeah.
Like, that was also, like, right at the moment when, like, Katzenberg and Eisner came in. That was already in mid-production, and then they showed up. So, things got fucky from there.
Yeah.
Apparently there was, like, a quote from, like, Katzenberg, who said, like, he saw, like, parts in a cut of the movie and said, you need to change this, you need to edit it. And it's like, how do you edit an animated movie?
I remember. Oh, I have heard that.
And then he went on to make DreamWorks.
But, like, to get up to, like, the protagonist, man, it's like, that's literally the entire point of Link in Zelda.
Right, yeah, that's why he's never spoken.
That's why his name is Link, because he's the link between the player and the game.
He's the missing link. Excuse me, princess.
So how many copies of this movie do you own?
3. So let me explain. So I have it on this 4K because I have it on 4K now. This 4K Blu-ray disc. I have it on a special edition DVD from like the early 2000s, 1999 to be specific, because I'm a fan of those. And then I have here with me a Dark Crystal / Labyrinth double feature Blu-ray in the shape of a VHS case, because I needed Labyrinth on Blu-ray, and when I looked it up on Amazon, this was the first thing that popped up, and I'm like, well, I'm getting it because I need that. I am a fan of VHS still, and I remember, if for any audience members out there, a couple episodes or a bunch of episodes ago, I talked about Stranger Things Season 1 on this Blu-ray pack that I owned it on, and how that was in the shape of an old VHS tape. But I got rid of that because I saw no reason to keep it. But like here, this is another one of those things where it looks like a VHS case. I will say I'm not a fan of the fact that it only has one disc holder, so I have to put both discs on top of one another whenever I put it back. But I mean, it's tiny nitpicks, I guess.
The worst case I've ever seen was like I have this Three Stooges DVD set, and like it's a nice little box, but then you open it up and like it's literally just a big plastic tray that has like all 10 discs stacked on top of each other, which is really bad, especially for DVDs since those get scratched easier. So I don't even have them in that case anymore. I just have them in a binder.
Well, there you go. I mean,
because it's probably better for the discs if anything.
Yeah, I hate when DVDs and Blu-ray cases do that. It boggles my mind that they still do that.
I love Blu-ray steelbooks and stuff, but also never buy a steelbook for a TV show.
Yeah, no,
that's that's gonna have multiple discs, and they're gonna have to stack them. So if you get a steelbook for multiple movies, don't just get a regular Blu-ray at that point because it'll probably be packaged better.
I mean, because like it'll look just as well, you know, because like it's a Blu-ray, so it's going to look better anyway. But I guess some people just are very particular about the stuff they own it on. William, what do you own the Dark Crystal on?
Both of the movies here I have in these Sony Digibook packs. So like they don't make Digibooks too often anymore, but they sometimes still pop up. Basically, it's bound like an actual book. You just open up and there's like the disc in a little plastic tray at that side that's attached, and then there's like the booklet part of it that goes into like the making of some of the characters, like behind the scenes stuff. I have like 5 of these. I have the Dark Crystal Labyrinth, and then I have Little Shop, King Kong, and the original Clash of the Titans.
Yeah, I have it for like Big Lebowski, and then I think I also have it for like both Ghostbusters movies, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, like they don't really make that many digibooks anymore. I think mostly because it's just like it costs more money to produce, and they figured if they want to do that, they can just make like a little mini booklet and just put it in a regular case, and the audience is getting the same amount of content for less price. So.
Yeah,
I get,
exactly.
They look cool. I like it, but I get why they don't do it too often because you're still getting the same amount of content the other way too.
Right, so that definitely makes sense. John, do you happen to own the Dark Crystal on any sort of Blu-ray?
You know, I don't know. I don't think I do. We might have a DVD somewhere, but if we do, I've never watched it. I can't remember if I've seen it in the bookcase or not.
I thought I remember. Do you happen to have it on VHS?
Same thing. We may have a
I
DVD
feel like I've seen
or
one
VHS
at your house before.
in the bookcase. I even remember you being over here and you thought maybe you found it and you're like, oh hey, you have it.
Sounds
I
like
don't know
me.
if that's a real memory or not. So, I mean, I might, but
that definitely sounds like something.
If I do, I've never watched it. I only saw it when I saw it with you a number of years ago, and then just shortly ago.
Yeah.
And I liked it. And for all the crap I give about, Jen maybe being a weak character and the pacing at the beginning maybe being a little nuts, I really like it. I think it's a wonderful movie, and I think it has a wonderful soundtrack.
Oh, God, yeah. That's something I wanted to mention. The music. I'm surprised not many more people talk about the music of this movie because it's phenomenal. It is really good. It's really good at being like this grand orchestral sound to it. Like there's certain scenes where like Jen's walking through. obviously it looks like the countryside of England because that's where they could film, but like still you got these like sweeping shots of this waterfall and like the music sounds so grand and epic. It's amazing. And then, other times it's very exciting. It has like a weird melody to it, a weird sound to it at certain points to really drive home the fact that this is a very alien world. Like, it's phenomenal. I love the score of this movie. It's so freaking good.
It's really good.
It's really good. Yeah, I don't know. Was there anything else you guys wanted to talk about in general with this movie?
I will say one thing I think this does do a better job than the next one is, I know we talk about the pacing for the beginning, but like I do feel like a certain amount of exposition is required, and I think it does a better job immediately establishing the world than Labyrinth does. Mind you, I guess Labyrinth doesn't really need to do that much explaining.
Yes.
But, I mean, it is kind of a simpler world by design, but it also doesn't really try to establish it. You can pick it up easily as you go along, but like this does a better job of like establishing everything right at the beginning.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with that. In any case, as for the various versions of this movie that I own, I'm obviously keeping the 4K because I want to see this movie in like crisp quality 4K. I might keep the special edition DVD just because I really love these kinds of early, like late 90s, early 2000s DVDs of movies. So I might keep it for now. Who knows if that'll happen for the if I'll keep it forever and ever after that. Who knows? And honestly, for the Labyrinth Dark Crystal double feature, I'll wait until I'm done with discussing that movie to make my final decision on that. So you guys want to move on to Labyrinth?
Let's do it.
I guess.
All right. Let's talk about Jim Henson's second dark fantasy movie from the 80s. Labyrinth, made in 1986.
I wouldn't really call it dark.
Well, I mean, it's darker than the Muppets, but not as dark as the Dark Crystal.
No.
I mean, that makes sense because it's called Dark Crystal.
Yeah, I was going to say, they would have called it Dark Labyrinth, but no, they just called it
Where's the
Labyrinth.
crystal? I can't see it.
So anyway, Labyrinth. I feel like whenever people bring up the Dark Crystal or they bring up Labyrinth, they're kind of brought up in the same breath, just because, I mean, they're two different Jim Henson fantasy movies from the 80s that aren't the Muppets. I feel like they're going to be brought up together. So, and I feel like that's why they put them on the same VHS Blu-ray pack, where like it's a double feature, because a lot of people, I guess, kind of see these movies as very similar.
Well, also because Sony has the rights to both.
Sony has the rights to both. That's very true. So originally, me and William were actually going to do a crossover episode of, I don't know, just something.
Whatever I was going to call it. And then I got lazy.
Yeah, we were going to do it
I
on
still have
Labyrinth.
the audio from a year ago. I just never did anything with it.
Yeah, that's true. We did that.
I think it's still sitting on my desktop.
Yeah, we did that. We did Fritz the Cat, and then we never did them. That's
I can't
okay,
believe
though.
it. We killed Fritz.
I can't. But anyway, now's your time. Now's your shot at redemption, William. Let's talk about Labyrinth. William, what did you think of Labyrinth? Give me your thoughts. Gimme those
They haven't
thoughts.
really changed at all. My main thing here is that like there's a lot to like here. All the pieces are there. They just don't really connect.
Mm-hmm.
It was like I like a lot of individual things about this, but I feel like once you actually like connect it to like the whole, it doesn't really amount to what it should. It's fine. It's just for whatever reason, it just doesn't really do it all the way for me.
Yeah, I would say I agree. But John, I want to hear your thoughts on Labyrinth. I don't know if I've ever heard your actual fleshed out thoughts on Labyrinth. Gimme.
So I think I agree with William a lot. More specifically, the elements that I don't think work are the songs. Just for me personally, they didn't really serve a purpose. I had no problem with the songs themselves. I just felt like they didn't seem to be necessary. You know, like if you think about not to compare this to the Muppets because it's not comparable, but just in terms of structure. You know, when you have a song in the Muppet movie, it's to explain a part of the story. And I feel like the Labyrinth songs don't really do that. Especially the second one. I forget, is it called like Wild Ones or Wild Things? The red guys that take their heads off.
I think that's my big problem scene with the movie, but we'll get to that later. I think that sounds kind of like Chili Down or something.
It's the movie's big-lipped alligator moment.
Yeah, it's just it felt like it's like Sarah comes in and there's these creatures and they sing a song about who they are and then they don't do anything. You know, it's like she comes in and they're like, "Hey, we're here. This is who we are. We're wild." Okay, bye.
Yeah,
it's like what?
So this is obviously it's definitely more of a musical. Yeah, I feel like they had to make it a musical. They thought they had to because Bowie was involved. And again, say what you want about David Bowie. I am a huge fan of Bowie. I feel like thanks to this movie and, well, as horrible as it is to say, thanks to his death, like, and him gaining more popularity because of it, like, I definitely listened to a lot more Bowie posthumously than I did when he was alive. But with that said, as I do like the songs relatively. I do agree with you, John. I don't know if I like them within the context of the movie, just because they are very awkwardly inserted in there. I remember, like, for example, Dance Magic Dance, like that's like the film's most famous song, where he's just like running around with all these goblins and just singing Dance Magic Dance. You're just like, I remember when I was watching it this most recent time, I'm like, what does this have to do with the rest of the movie? Like, Sarah's just walking through this maze, and he's just like, dance, magic, dance, magic, dance, look at my bulge. It's just like, what is going on? What is the context here?
I think what it is that the songs are less there to establish, to advance the plot, and more there to, like, establish the characters in the world. Because, like, no, the plot's not really advanced with Dance, Magic, Dance, but you do also see how the goblins behave and act with each other.
Which is weird, because I feel like we kind of get the gist of that when Sarah's wishing for the Goblin King to take away Toby, and the goblins are just there, just being like, oh, is she going to say the magic words?
Well, we haven't seen them interact with the Goblin King yet.
That's true, too.
Yeah.
That's true, too.
I think the first song serves much more of a purpose.
Yeah, okay, so in that case, yeah, that makes sense. But then, like John was saying, with the whole...
the kill themselves demons.
The kill themselves demons, like, they have a song that establishes who they are, and then we never see them again.
It's also just a really bad song.
It is not a very good song, I will admit. So I do like some of the songs. That's one I didn't like. Yeah, I don't even remember the melody. Like,
it has none.
It has no melody. It's literally just these guys talking over one another, and I'm like,
and then tearing their limbs off.
Yeah, and that's the joke. Laugh, audience. Are you laughing yet? No.
I like their design, but like you could literally remove that scene from the movie and nothing would change. I guess it gets her out of the forest back into the main labyrinth because Hoggle throws the rope down or something.
Right, he does.
But like that's it.
But then what was the purpose of her being in there in the first place?
They got lost.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing with this movie. It's essentially Wizard of Oz, Alice in Wonderland, typical like little girl gets lost in a fantasy realm movie. But then, it has kind of a dark edginess to it. I guess you could make the argument that, well, you really can't, because Wizard of Oz and Alice in Wonderland are by no means edgy, but they do have elements to them that are scary. But like, I feel like this is kind of amping it up a little more.
Well, the original books were probably edgier than the movies.
Oh, 100%. I definitely do not doubt that.
Which, to go into that, the copy of the actual Wizard of Oz book does show up in this movie. So, like, the parallels are fully intentional. They want you to recognize that. Yeah.
I think also, like, one of the books on her shelf... So, what we're talking about is, at the beginning, there's a scene where, like, the camera pans through Sarah's bedroom, and you see a lot of... foreshadowing moments to the things that are yet to come. Like, you see like a bunch of stuffed animals that look like the creatures she's going to come across. You see a bunch of books like Alice in Wonderland and Wizard of Oz. And honestly, I think I remember seeing Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs there too, which is really funny because I recently rewatched Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And it's also funny because I'm like, hey, this is the second movie in a row where the main villain has an unhealthy obsession with a teenage girl.
Well,
the villain in this movie the main villain in this movie also has a unhealthy obsession with a little baby boy.
Oh boy.
So, yeah.
And he has a giant bulge. Oh no!
Oh no!
He's just a baby boy. Don't touch him.
Yeah.
They
There's some
knew
weird
exactly
aspects
what
of
they
this
were
that I'm sure
doing.
they
I
probably
think they
didn't
didn't know what they were
intend,
doing, and
but,
that's the
like,
problem.
oh.
I mean, so the interesting thing with that is, like, I've heard a lot of, well, maybe not a lot, but I have heard the theory that this movie's like a metaphor for like a girl's sexual awakening. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to subscribe to that because, one, I'm not a teenage girl, but also it's like, I don't even know where to begin with that. Like, that's just, I can't even imagine. Like, I don't even know if I want to imagine. It's like, no, thank you.
I think I can vaguely see it with like the ending scene where she's like Bowie wants her to be his bride, and she's like, "You have no power over me."
Yeah, exactly.
Consent.
Yeah,
I can vaguely see it there, but like I don't know.
Yeah, no, like the rest of the movie, I don't know if you really can connect it. I'm sure you could, but like, I don't know if I'd really want to. That's the other thing. So I feel like this movie, I remember, John, you were kind of, or was it William? I don't know. One of you brought up where, like, you said, like, this movie doesn't really do a good job at establishing this fantasy world, whereas Dark Crystal kind of had to have that narration at the beginning, whereas this
that
doesn't.
was me. I didn't say that it does a bad job. It just says that the other movie does it a lot better.
But what I'm trying to say is, like, yeah, I agree. And I think the reason why is because I don't think this is a tangible universe like the Dark Crystal is. I think this is just all in her head. Like, this is just a dream that she has. Now, with that said, I can't really explain at the end where she sees all the creatures in her bedroom. I can't really speak to that. But for most of the movie, I like to say that my theory is that it's a dream.
It's the Nightmare on Elm Street ending.
You know what? That is absolutely you
no,
probably
it's like 100% because not even just the whole waking up and like, oh, it's still going on. No, literally the way she defeats the Goblin King is the exact same way Nancy beats Freddy in the first movie.
Yeah, no, you're probably right because Nightmare on Elm Street came out
84.
before 84, and this is 86.
I think like the intent is that it technically still happened. It's just that like maybe it was all a dream, but it still happened in that regard, kind of.
Right. It happened in the dream world.
It's a big
still
fairy
had a
tale.
profound impact on
It
her.
is a very big fairy tale. Yeah, exactly. Because like she's a changed character by the end. I think. I don't know. Can I rant about the hand scene? I really want to rant about the hand scene.
Okay.
So if you guys remember, there's that scene where she goes through where she has like the two doors, and it's like one of them tells the truth, the other tells a lie, and she goes through one of them, and then she falls through into like that pit of hands, just grabbing her down there, and then she's like, stop, and the hands are like, all right, which way do you want to go, up or down? And I remember being a kid and being blown away by that. I'm like, holy shit, she's getting a choice. It's like, take advantage of that, go back up. And then she doesn't. She's just like, well, I'm already heading down, so might as well. And I'm like, are you serious? Like, the one time in a fantasy movie where a character is falling down a pit and she actually has the choice to go back up the way she came and do something again and fix it, and she doesn't take it. And I have, even the first time I watched this when I was a kid, when I watched that, it infuriated me so much. I'm like, how are you this stupid? Granted, she gets out of it anyway because she just so happens to find Hoggle at the bottom of the pit, and I get it. That's the point of the story. But it's like, why introduce that as a choice anyway?
I think like maybe part to give her the benefit of the doubt. What does certain death look like? For all she knows, if she did go up, maybe this technically was the right way. It's just that it leads down a hole anyway.
That's what I thought.
Like maybe she opens the other door and there's just a gun. Also, I'm looking through the book now to see what's there because I remember there was like something about the hand scene. But I did just notice this little fun fact: the Chili Down song that with the Kill Themselves Demons, that was the first song Bowie wrote for the film, and it shows.
That's the first one. You can only go up from there, I guess. And he did, because I mean.
Okay, here we go. I found the shaft and hand scenes. Do you want me to just read that quickly? Do you want to finish what you're saying first?
No, I've pretty much gotten it out. I really just cannot stand that hand scene. It's one of my least favorite things in the movie.
From a story point.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
From an effects standpoint.
Oh yeah, no, the effects are magnificent. It's really good.
An equally complicated scene was the shaft of hands. George Gibbs in the special effects team devised a 30-foot-high shaft for Jennifer to descend, accompanied by a camera mounted on a 40-foot vertical camera track, which followed Jennifer's descent down the shaft with perfect timing and accuracy. The 150 live hands that grabbed at and interacted with Jennifer was supplied by 75 puppeteers and assistants and augmented by an additional 200 foam rubber hands. Connolly remarked, "It was fun. Some of the hands passed me little notes during breaks. Others tried to communicate in sign language." One idea that didn't make it into the film was a scene in a giant pinball machine. It would have been a challenge for the effects team, but as far as Jim was concerned, the possibilities were infinite. They wanted to put a fucking pinball machine in this movie.
Yeah, what?
Said
pinball machine?
Said director Jim Henson of The Shaft of Hands, "It's certainly one of the most bizarre and unusual sequences I've ever used in a movie, but then Labyrinth is full of bizarre and unusual sequences." It was, in fact, screenwriter Terry Jones of Monty Python who first had the idea of The Shaft of Hands. Then I contributed the conception of hands making faces and speaking. You might say that we were gave one another a hand with the scene. After the entire sequence was in the can at the end of the day, the hands at one side of the shaft applauded the other side, who then returned the gesture. The foam rubber hands didn't bother.
Yeah, can we talk about that? Like, Terry Jones wrote this movie? Like, that's weird to me. Like, I mean, obviously, there's a lot of weird aspects to this movie, but, like, Terry Jones wrote the screenplay. Like, that's really random to me.
I mean, like, when you look at, like, different directors, just see what they've done, there's a lot of awkward juxtaposition.
Yeah.
Like, again, like, a favorite fact I always bring up, the guy who directed Christmas Story, Bob Clark, about 10 years before that, he directed Black Christmas.
It's true. They're very, very different movies. But yeah, and I feel like Terry Jones definitely brings that weirdness to this movie because it is a very strange movie. Almost as strange as Dark Crystal, I'll say, because it's just so out there at times. Just like how creative, and because that's the thing I will give Labyrinth. It is very creative. As much as I criticize it and have my problems with it, it is insanely creative, almost as much as the Dark Crystal. Like, obviously the Dark Crystal I prefer, but I feel like Labyrinth does have like just insane amounts of creativity to it. Just like the way the different puppets will interact and will just like look, and the way like the world works is just insane to me. And I feel like only an insane person could have written that. So naturally, 1/5 of Monty Python wrote it, so that makes sense.
I feel like part of it's also just a matter of who is the main character of which movie. Because in Dark Crystal, the main character is someone who's lived in that world their entire life, so all of those crazy things are completely normal to them. So there's more of like your suspension of disbelief there, like, yes, this world is crazy, but like it feels believable there. Whereas in this movie, this is just a regular teenage girl who gets sucked into it like an isekai. So, like, it feels way more crazy because, like, this character is reacting to all this insanity. They don't know what's going on.
Right. No, that definitely makes sense. Yeah, totally.
And, like, hearing that, like, Monty Python guy was involved in this, that kind of makes more sense at this point now. Like, yeah, of course Monty Python fucking wrote this.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, and, yeah, no, that's about it, honestly. Trying to think, what else did I want to mention about this movie?
Do we want to talk about the individual characters?
Yeah, I guess we can. So there's Sarah, the main character. She really sucks at the beginning. You can tell they probably
off.
I don't want to say they filmed it in order because I don't think they did. Because I don't think Jim would have been that. Yeah, no, I don't think he would have been that stupid. But
I don't remember if we found this out last time. Was this Jennifer Connelly's first movie?
No, actually. I think she was in Once Upon a Time in America before this, and that was Sergio Leone in 1984.
Okay. But it was one of her first.
It's definitely one of her first.
Because I think she was literally 16 when she did this.
Yeah, exactly. And it makes sense. I mean, I'm not going to pick on a child for not acting great, of course, but she wasn't acting great. Like, that's just a tangible fact right there.
To go into acting, I have another thing to say too, but you finish what you're saying.
I was just going to say, like, yeah, she's not very good. Obviously, she's much better when she's much older, like when she's in Dark City and A Beautiful Mind, and even Top Gun Maverick, which she was in recently. Like, she was a lot better in that movie, too. So, like, obviously, it's just a case of, hey, I'm 16. This is one of my first acting gigs. I'm not going to, knock it out of the park like Daniel Day-Lewis on a Tuesday. It's like, it is what it is.
So I don't have any issue with Jennifer Connelly's acting, really. Again, I think kind of like Dark Crystal, it's down more to the dialogue that they gave her for certain parts. More the issue that I had with her, and the reason I said a minute ago that she was awful in the beginning, is her character. Because she is so mean, and like obviously that's the point. She's a grouchy teenage girl and all that, but like it is over the top how mean she is to her little brother.
Yeah, I find it funny that like her stepmother's just
It's
like,
like-
oh,
It's like, damn, I don't
yeah.
like you.
Well, I think it's funny that like her stepmother kind of has the line where she's like, she treats me like a wicked stepmother, and all she did was like ask Sarah like, hey, where were you? And she's just like, you're the worst. It's just like, god damn. This isn't like the stepmother from Cinderella. Like, this just seems like a normal lady with shoulder pads.
I mean, they didn't flesh that out. Obviously, there could be more going on there that we don't see. I mean, it's implied that like do they ever say that Toby is her stepbrother?
I think they just call him her brother.
That's the impression
Yeah.
I got.
Maybe they had him after they were already
Okay.
married.
That's what I was gonna say. I thought that she has the stepmother, and then Toby is technically her stepbrother. Maybe that's why she kind of resents him. But like, that's all potential subtext. And it's like I feel like we don't. Toby doesn't do enough to justify her calling.
Well, he
in
doesn't do
David
anything.
Bowie to
He's a
take him
baby.
away.
Yeah, exactly. He
I
cries
know.
once. He cries
It's
once,
like-
and she's
it's
just
like,
like,
wow,
get out of
okay,
here.
So what's our
Go away. Just get out of here, you stupid
Jim? What's our
animal.
motivation for this movie? Child abuse. Oh, okay.
So, like, the thing that I was going to bring up, and this is, like, something that's throughout the entire movie, when we're first introduced to her, she's rehearsing for a play.
Mm-hmm.
And that play has hints of things like the Goblin King and
Is
stuff
she?
like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
when
she
she's in the
is.
park.
Yeah, she's reciting. She's like rehearsing for a play.
Oh,
Which I think that would probably...
I thought she was just.
She's doing Shakespeare in the Park. Yeah, no, she's actually rehearsing for like a play. Yeah, that's what she's reading.
Sorry.
Because, like, she's talking about the Goblin King
I
and
thought
everything.
she was just really into this
Yeah,
book.
I don't know.
I thought this was just like she was because my impression of it this whole time was that the Labyrinth is a book that exists in that world, and she's just a huge fan of it.
That is not a bad theory. But then that begs the question, like, why is she shocked by everything when she sees it? Like, wouldn't she know? Wouldn't she understand like what's happening?
Wouldn't you be shocked if you suddenly wound up in Romeo and Juliet? It's like, well, there's people here, but it looks like about 1,000 years ago. Yeah, there's nothing wrong.
That's a good point.
Well, if I woke up in Romeo and Juliet, what I would say is, Mercutio, get away from Tybalt.
I would say, why are you Leonardo DiCaprio? This is 1996.
I would say, Leo, what the heck is that car?
Like, with my problem with the thing is, like, so, like, she's rehearsing this play, and there's, like, reference to, like, the Goblin King and stuff like that. So it's, like, clearly the point is, like, oh, this play has relevancy to the world she is in.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd think, logically, that, like, she would, at some point, recognize that and use her knowledge of the play to, like, help get out of sticky situations or, like, advance the plot. Maybe there's, like, a twist where, like, oh, it doesn't go exactly the way written. Something like that.
Yeah.
But they don't ever really do anything with it until the very, very end.
Yeah, exactly. When she like realizes, she's like, that's when she
Yeah.
uses like the line that she can't remember, even though that's like one scene at the beginning where she's like, I can never remember that line. And then it's never brought up until the absolute last second. And she's like, then she remembers it when it's convenient for the plot. And she's just like, you have no power over me. And then he disappears, disintegrates. I don't know. Something happens in the editing, and then she's back home.
Oh, I can't remember that line. What was it? Clatu Veratum.
Yeah, exactly. Totally, totally a different movie from Army of Darkness, if we're being completely honest.
Not really. Those skeletons could probably show up in Labyrinth.
You know, that's a good point.
I mean,
What if Bruce Campbell was?
Oh no,
in this
Bruce
movie?
Campbell's driving the cleaner.
Then Jareth would definitely be defeated much quicker.
If Jareth had a gun, the movie would be over instantly.
That is very true. It would be extremely over.
Why doesn't she just get a ladder and climb up the wall?
but then you wouldn't finish clean.
Yeah. All right. I know you're joking, but you're absolutely right. Why doesn't she do that?
Hardcore parkour.
Hardcore parkour. That's what I'm saying. Damn
I'm
it.
sorry, do you see a Home Depot anywhere around there?
Yeah, there's one right there.
They have ladders in this world.
Yeah, they're not totally.
Where? She's in the middle of a barren wasteland.
Just ask Hoggle for a ladder.
Yeah.
He probably has one.
Yeah.
How did she not notice there was a gap in that wall?
Well, I mean, I didn't notice.
Yeah, because of the angle that we were seeing from the camera. But like, if you were actually in there walking,
Right.
you would notice that there's a gap in that wall walking
Yeah.
down that aisle.
How come she didn't ask why she couldn't go the other way? How come she couldn't ask that? Like, why was she just like, oh, I'll just instantly go this way then? Okay.
Why did the worm lie in the first place?
Oh, actually, I have something that I noticed.
Yeah.
So when she first comes into the labyrinth, left is clean and right is not looked after. And she goes down the way that's clearly not looked after. And I can't decide if that's smart by her thinking that, oh, the well-kept way is a trick. I'm supposed to think that's the way. Or if that literally just was the way and she went the wrong way.
Interesting. And the way that's clean would have led to the castle. So, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, because it's the way that people usually go. It's like
Yeah.
it's like the other way is, weird. People don't use it, so the groundskeepers don't come around or whatever.
Yeah. I ain't cleaning this side of the labyrinth. That's my groundskeeper Willie impression. Thank you, everybody.
Ah, okay. We'll call you back on that one.
Okay. One thing I have noticed this before. There's like random instances where David Bowie's face is just in the architecture of the labyrinth. And I thought that was really funny because like that's like when I put my turkey in James's Freebirds video, just in random instances in the video.
I mean, if you were an evil king, wouldn't you want your face everywhere?
Yeah, it's just like how I wanted my evil turkey everywhere. Exactly. It's the same thought process.
Then there's our boy, Hoggle,
Hoggle.
whose first introduction in this movie is him taking a piss.
Hoggle!
It's such a good introduction, how he's just like taking a piss. It's like, oh, that's awesome. And then he's just killing fairies. I feel like that's a good subversion of typical fantasy stuff. Like, you find this mystical creature and he's taking a piss, and you see these fairies flying around and he's gassing them to death. Like, I feel like that's really good indications that this is not your grandpa's fantasy story.
No. Have you seen the pictures of like Hoggle when they found him years later in the lost suitcase?
I have seen that, yeah, how he's like deteriorated away and it's really fucking creepy. It's like something out of Five Nights at Freddy's. Yeah, it's
really sad, but it's also really cool that he turned up.
Yeah, no, and it is very sad because it's like that just shows you like the kind of quality that like these animatronics get treated after the movie, because they're just like, well, we don't need these anymore. It's like,
Well, that just kind of happens in general because like the materials those are made of is never made to last.
Yeah.
Like, you have to like be constantly keeping up.
It degrades really
Even if you
easily.
just like put it in a warehouse and don't really do anything with it, it still just is going to degrade anyway.
yes.
Like, there's
Yeah.
a reason, like, to go on a tangent that only I'm going to understand, when they're doing, for, like, the past couple anniversaries for Godzilla Day, they made, like, some short films with, like, some of the older suits and stuff. And, like, you can tell that the Final War suit is, like, starting to, like, come apart. Like, the mouth isn't all the way working. The hands are just kind of flappy a little. And, like, they had to reuse the Hedorah suit from Final Wars 2 for that one, because, like, the 70s one doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
A lot of those older suits just don't exist. They have to either remake them or whatever. they did a show, a Geigen suit for this year, and they had to crowdfund that to make a new one, because otherwise they would have had to use the Final Wars one, and that one might not even be in good condition anymore.
Yeah, it's just a shame. So, like, a couple months ago, I went to the, I forget what it's exactly called, but it's a museum in Queens, New York. That's like it's like the Museum of Moving Images.
Yes!
Okay, so yeah, you know what I'm talking about, John.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a museum in the middle
I've
of
been there.
Queens.
It's wonderful.
I know, it's great. And they have like a bunch of movie props on display there. And they have an entire Jim Henson display on it's on permanent display. It was freaking awesome seeing like the Skeksis costumes, the Labyrinth stuff, like up close and personal. It's like, geez, like this stuff was in the actual movie. And it looks really cool up close. It looks really different. You're just like, geez, man, like that's insane.
Yeah.
And some of it is very old and it does look like it's deteriorating, but now that it's in a museum for all eternity, like that's just really cool to me. So some stuff is still in good condition, but none of it's meant to last.
Think about how many times they've had to remake the Kermit puppet.
Yeah, exactly. They've probably had to remake that like thousands of times at this point. But that's why film is so important, because we get to experience this insane puppetry on the silver screen, on film, on digital, on whatever. They're captured forever in time. It's like a time capsule for these things, So whether or not the physical actual puppets deteriorate away, like we'll always have them on film. So I think that's just as nice.
Yeah.
All right. Did we have anything else we wanted to say about the movie?
Sir Didymus is pretty funny.
He is very funny. I like how he just rides the dog randomly.
It's okay. We have them surrounded.
We have you surrounded, at least from this side.
Is anyone up for a game of Scrabble?
Why was he protecting the bridge at the Bog of Eternal Stench? Like, that was just kind of random.
My answer is he probably forgot why.
Because it was his job. He's trying to earn a living in this crazy world, man. Cut him a break.
Why does he live by the Bog of Eternal Stench?
I think he forgot why.
Yeah, probably. That's why he forgot that it stunk. Yeah, speaking of Bog of Eternal Stench, why? Why?
Because Jim Henson thought it was funny.
I mean, it's funny for like 5 seconds, and then they're there for like 10 or 15 minutes, and then the funniness kind of wears off after a while. Now look, I'm not going to stick my nose up at a good fart joke, but that's the thing. Fart jokes are funny in, what's the word? Not as often. Moderation, exactly. They're good in moderation, but when they're like 10 minutes in a row, it's like, all right, I get it. Like, YouTube poops don't have as many fart sound effects as this.
Like, it's not even really trying to tell a joke of it either. It's just they step on the rock, and that's just the sound it makes. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, I guess it's tense because it's just like, oh, if you fall in the Bog of Eternal Stench, you'll stink forever. It's just like, yeah, okay. And then nothing ever happens of that. They make it out of there okay. So what good that did us.
Theoretically, they should stink because when the rocks come up out of the water, they've got the water on them. So their feet still touch the water.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Then they can just buy new shoes.
Yeah, okay. So Ludo can, because I don't think he wears shoes.
Eventually the skin on the bottom of his feet will peel off. I can't imagine Ludo smells that great
to begin with.
That's true. Yeah, take that, Jim Henson. We've picked apart your movie logic.
Oh man, I'm sure Jim Henson's going to be
Screw
really
you for
feeling
trying
that,
to be
even
fun
though
and
he's
creative.
already dead.
Yeah. Oh, it's true. So yeah, I really didn't have anything else I wanted to say. If you guys want to give your last thoughts or whatever.
I mean, we didn't talk much about David Bowie.
Maybe we should. Anyway,
Probably,
yeah.
Kind of sort of like the most famous part of this movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're saying like how people will always bring this movie up with talking about Dark Crystal. Usually I see people talk about David Bowie first and talk about the movie.
You know what? That's probably what it is. Yeah, it's the other way around. I see it the other way around, where it's people bring this up whenever talking about Dark Crystal just because it's me. I got Dark Crystal on the mind. What can I say? But yes, absolutely. Like, David Bowie makes this movie. Like, I remember hearing like behind the scenes about this movie saying like, oh, it wasn't originally supposed to be Bowie. Like, people were considering like Sting in the role, and I'm like, Sting? Really? Like, I know, like, no fucking way would that have worked. Like, this is the David Bowie movie, man. Like, it's either him or nobody.
Yeah, like, reasonably, who would even be able to play this role besides him?
Exactly. Which
like,
is why I hope they never make a sequel.
Well, like, if they make a movie that's in this universe, just don't have the Goblin King. Just tell other stories in that area.
Yeah, I guess so. That would probably work much better.
Because, like, this is a really cool world. I'd like to see more things in it. It's just, you can't replace the Goblin King.
No, you can't. Like, he is this character, and he does an immaculate job at it. Like, I mean, this is the movie that made me discover David Bowie. Like, I didn't know who David Bowie was. But, like, you know, when I remember watching the trailer for this as a kid, and everyone, and, like, the movie's just like, the excitement of David Bowie. And I'm just like, cool. Who's that? And then, like, obviously after that, it opened up a world of Starman, Space Oddity,
SpongeBob
Let's Dance.
SquarePants, Atlantis SquarePantis.
The Atlantis SquarePantis. That one song in Shrek
the peak
2.
of his career, as widely acknowledged.
Yeah, exactly. And I always thought this was like his only movie, but he's been in a couple other things as well. Like, he is a genuine actor in other stuff. Like, he was in he was in The Prestige, the Christopher Nolan movie, where he plays Nikola Tesla randomly. He's very good in that movie. It's like, wow, you're in other things than just Labyrinth.
Wasn't he in a Scooby-Doo movie?
Oh, was he?
Let me look that up real quick.
Yeah, please fact check that.
Because if it's the one I'm thinking of, it's going to be really funny for one specific reason.
Yeah, please do. I really hope so, because that would be really funny. I mean, I didn't even remember that he was in Atlantis SquarePantis, but I'm glad you brought that up, because it's like, oh yeah, he was in that. And he does a really good job, because you barely even recognize
Royal
him.
Highness.
Yeah. Old Royal Highness. I have not seen Atlantis SquarePantis in years. I need to watch it again.
It's not worth it.
No, I figured not because it's post-movie, but like, still, I don't know.
Okay, wasn't he was apparently in an episode of Mystery Incorporated from what I've seen, but he wasn't in the movie I was thinking of.
What was the movie you were thinking of?
There's a movie called Scooby-Doo and the Goblin King.
Oh, yeah. No,
it wasn't David Bowie. It was Tim Curry.
Okay, well...
It was the other British guy.
Yeah, Tim Curry being in a Scooby-Doo movie is still quite funny, so...
Yeah, he was in the episode Web of the Dream Weaver.
Oh, yeah. So, like, the Scooby-Doo show that everybody loves, but nobody remembers? Because it was, like, the dark version or whatever. I barely watched Mystery Inc. when it came out, so I don't remember anything
I didn't
about
finish it, but I remember that I liked it when I was watching it.
Yeah, I remember not hating it. I mean, like, it's Scooby-Doo. I'm not going to turn down Scooby-Doo unless it's the Raja Gosnell movies.
Trivia. The Dreamweaver is a combination of David Bowie's character Jared from the Jim Henson movie Labyrinth and Dr. Michael Morbius, the vampire from Marvel Comics.
Yeah, fuck yeah, it's Morbid time.
Oh, God. It's
nice.
Not. It's not. We're done with that.
That's...
Bury me! Bury me!
That's incredible. That is incredible. Good
if it's Morbid
God.
time, I think it's time that we flee this world.
Hal, as a side note, as I'm bringing that up, start fading in the actual music. Just quiet, loud enough that they hear it, but quiet enough that I won't get claimed.
Sure. I'll see what I can do. That is the best thing you could have said, honestly. So I guess to wrap things up, because I feel like we can't top that. So yeah, I still have Labyrinth on this Blu-ray in the shape of a VHS tape. Honestly, as many issues as I have with Labyrinth, I can't hate it, honestly. Like, there's just too much to love about it, and even though I am a diehard Dark Crystal fan for life, like, I still enjoy Labyrinth. I would absolutely watch it again. I feel like if anybody out there listening has never seen it, they absolutely should watch it. Like, I think it's important for Jim Henson as an auteur. I think it's important for fantasy movies from that time period. And it's just, I mean, it's not a terrible movie. Like, it's good. Like, I feel like a lot of people would like it. I feel like they'd like it a lot more than The Dark Crystal.
It is good.
Like it's a lot more simple, lighthearted, and easier to get into than the Dark Crystal, I would say. I still prefer the Dark Crystal, but I still like it, and I'm absolutely keeping this Blu-ray in the shape of a VHS tape. It's too funny of a Blu-ray pack that I can never part ways with it. I'm absolutely keeping it forever. But so William, you said you have the Sony book version of it?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to get rid of that because of what it is. And I don't hate the movie. I think it's fine. It's just that it's not, I don't think it's as good as it should be. It's not all the way there. It needs another draft.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree. I think
And I think Coolsville sucks.
Anyway, John, do you own this on Blu-ray? Do you remember if you do or not?
Labyrinth, I have it on DVD. That's what I watched it on last night, in fact.
Nice.
I like it. Personally, I think Labyrinth is a better movie, but The Dark Crystal is a better world with better characters. And between the two, I would probably choose The Dark Crystal.
Interesting. No, yeah, I can see that, definitely. Yeah, so you're keeping that DVD in your collection?
100% boyo, we don't get rid of nothing in this house.
I only get rid of things if it's something, if I upgrade something, or if I need more room.
Yeah. That's why I started
say
this
yes
podcast.
to VHS.
Yeah, I do too. Someday I'll probably own The Dark Crystal on VHS. I feel like that's like one of those movies I should own on VHS just because I'm a fan of the aesthetic. So someday, but not today.
I actually have a stack of stuff I need to trade in soon because I've upgraded or I got it in a pack of something else and don't need it. And also Jungle Cruise because I forgot to say no when that was on the feature train for Disney Movie Club and I never bothered watching it. It's I'm not going to watch this, so I'll trade that in too.
Yeah, never do. Jungle Cruise, not worth it. Not worth it. If you're going to watch any Dwayne Johnson joint, watch Black Adam. Kidding, of course. Don't watch Black Adam.
So you're saying watch Black Adam?
I'm saying watch DC League of Super Pets, boy.
No.
That's probably the best choice.
Yeah, I gotta trade in my DVD copies of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, The Host, Batman and Batman Returns, The Addams Family 2-pack, Poltergeist, The Alien Quadrilogy, The First Kingsman, Tomb Raider, the Sci-Fi Creature Classics, and Halloween 2 and 3, because I got them on Blu-ray, or at least have most of those in something else.
Yeah. Oh, so you got the 4K of the Halloween movies?
Okay, I have the Blu-ray for Halloween 2. I don't have Halloween 3 yet on Blu-ray, but I'm probably gonna get that anyway because it was a 2-pack.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool.
And yes, I did get the Vinegar Syndrome version of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Oh, that's right. They did do that. I should get that because I do. I'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
You can't do it this month though because it's partners only month.
Oh well, there you go.
You can get Shiva Baby though if you want it.
Perhaps.
Next month they'll be open for real again.
Yeah, I'm sure. Someday I'll probably get it. It's Texas Chainsaw 2. The only good Texas Chainsaw sequel.
The
Who are we
Lord
kidding?
of the Harvest.
All right. I feel like we've been going on for long enough. William, is there anything you want to shout out, plug, do anything? Just tell people where you go. I'm going to put your links in the description anyway, but anything you want to say?
Yell at me to finish making videos.
Yeah, finish videos, dude. Come on.
I have 2 that need to get done, and I just haven't done it yet.
I believe in you, William. I believe.
And I already made a whole list of other things I want to do in the future.
Yeah.
I think Coolsville sucks.
Your links will be in the description. John, is there anything you want to shout out? Any social medias? Any specific videos? Maybe you want to, I don't know, shout out a random video that people should check out that has nothing to do with anything.
Sure. Yeah, sure. So, this is a little bit of a bombshell to have at the end, but so I'm one of those people that's a fan of Thomas the Tank Engine, but are an adult, so I'm part of that circle.
Disgusting.
So if you're into that, come follow me, I guess. I know no, I'm into the old stuff when they used the models.
Okay,
back when it was good.
No, absolutely, I agree.
And then also also they made like a sister show for 1 year about boats, and it's kind of dark and weird. I'm kind of more into that. And on my old terrible channel that you will link, I guess, I did a video where I fed that show's theme song to the AI that extends songs, and I had it write like new parts to it. So I guess that's something to check out. I'm also on Twitter. I post edits and cool pictures and stuff. And yeah, essentially, if you like vehicles that talk, come to me, I suppose.
I just refreshed YouTube. Apparently, Captain Sparkle still makes Minecraft music videos.
All right, shout out to Captain Sparkle's Minecraft music video.
Okay. Shout out to 2012.
Shout out to 2012.
Aw, man. He released it an hour ago.
All right. This is already my longest episode. We need to stop here. So, all right, guys, thank you for coming on, talking about the Dark Crystal and Labyrinth. And thank you all out there for listening.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah, thank you all for listening. I'll see you all next time, whenever that may be. And always remember, dance, magic, dance, magic, dance. Put that thing in something that says something. Coolsville sucks. All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Just